Today, we're doing something a little different, actually. We're taking a source provided by you, but it's Tolls Media, where it's presented in a pretty unique format. It's going to push us to think a bit differently about finding insights. So the source material we have is basically just this. Excerpts from Jitiya, Sudavo Arako Humatia, Puriaje Makkia Dakha, Kanto Spristi. And there's a short description saying, it's Bali Aje, Videria Ucha Goldinamabiyar ko Manal Sachar Septe Kete. Which only translates to a life introduction or biography of Dr. Rajendra Prasad in Hindi. Now, here's the interesting part. Our mission today, we're going to explore what we can actually figure out, what knowledge we can unpack just from that, just the title and the description, not the full text. The idea is to see what we can learn from, well, essentially the metadata of the source. Okay, so let's get into it. What immediately strikes you about this, just knowing the title and that brief description?
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it, how much you can potentially deduce just from those few pieces of information. The title, the source type, the language. It really shows how much context can be packed into, well, into structured information. Take the name, for instance, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. The very fact that there's a life introduction dedicated to him, that immediately signals his importance.
Right. He's clearly a significant figure.
Exactly. Someone whose life story is deemed important enough to be documented and shared in this specific format, likely within a particular cultural or historical context.
So it's not just he's important, but the choice of that specific genre suggests something more, like an intention behind telling his story.
Precisely. Akida isn't just a random collection of facts. It usually aims to present a fairly comprehensive but still accessible story. The goal is often educational, maybe even inspirational. It kind of positions the individual as a notable figure whose life offers lessons or carries cultural weight.
Okay, so it's about building a narrative, integrating this person into the collective memory, especially, you might think, for a national audience.
That's often the case, yes. It's about establishing a foundational understanding of who they were and why they matter.
And digging into that genre more. Life introduction, like you said, it's not a critical academic paper, it's not, historical fiction. What does that specific choice suggest about the type of information inside and maybe the effect it's intended to have?
That's a key question. Gankukyan sets an expectation. You'd anticipate typically a chronological approach. Details about, say, their upbringing, their education, career milestones, major achievements, maybe some insights into their character.
So sort of the established narrative arc.
Yes, exactly. The impact is usually aimed at providing that foundational view. It introduces the person's journey and contributions in a way that's meant to be, perhaps, unifying or easily understood. It's generally less about deep critique or challenging the legacy and more about presenting a coherent, often positive picture.
Got it. So the how and why it's told are shaped by that genre choice, probably aiming for broad appeal. Okay, let's switch gears slightly. What about the language? KTNI in Hindi. How does knowing that add another layer, even though we haven't seen a single word of the actual text?
Oh, the language is hugely important. It's a massive clue about the intended audience and the cultural context. A biography in Hindi strongly suggests, almost certainly, that its main audience is within the Hindi-speaking world. Given Dr. Rajendra Prasad's role in Indian history, we're likely talking primarily about India.
So it's not just a translation of a work that might exist elsewhere.
It could be, but often a work originally presented in Hindi suggests it's rooted in the cultural and linguistic perspectives of that sphere. The narrative itself might be shaped by idioms, historical references, or cultural values specific to that audience. It speaks to the information's sort of cultural footprint.
That's a really good way to put it, cultural footprint. So the story isn't just about him. It's framed for a specific community, likely reflecting what's considered important or relevant within that community's understanding of history.
Absolutely. It hints at the lens being used. The choice of language can influence everything from the tone to the specific historical events emphasized.
Okay, and one more element from the title. Excerpts. It says excerpts from... What does that little word tell us about the completeness or maybe the intention?
Excerpts is quite revealing, actually. It immediately tells us we're not getting the full story. Someone has selected parts of the original Hukukalete Kakule. There's been a curation process.
Right. So why? What does that imply?
It implies a specific purpose behind this particular presentation of the information. Maybe it's for brevity, or perhaps to highlight certain achievements or themes that align with a particular goal or context where these excerpts are being shared. It signals that the knowledge is filtered. We're seeing a snapshot, not the whole panorama.
Which means we need to be aware that there's a layer of selection influencing what we would see if we had the content. It prompts a different kind of critical thinking.
Exactly. You have to ask what's being emphasized and potentially what's being left out.
Wow. Okay, so this has been quite a different kind of deep dive, hasn't it? We really focused just on the framing, excerpts from the Judagani, this Hindi biography, and just from that, we've unpacked quite a bit about his likely significance. The kind of narrative it probably is, its intended audience in the Hindi-speaking world, and the fact that it's a curated selection.
It really underscores a vital point, I think. Understanding the context, the nature of a source, even just from its metadata, is so fundamental. It's crucial for critical thinking, for navigating information effectively. It helps you read between the lines, doesn't it? To understand the why behind the information presented.
It helps you see the frame around the picture.
Precisely. It's about understanding how knowledge is shaped and presented, which is essential in today's world.
So thinking about that, here's something for you, our listener, to mull over as you navigate the world brimming with information. When you encounter a piece of knowledge presented only by its title, its description, maybe its author or language, what can that alone truly tell you? What clues are embedded in that frame about the knowledge inside and about the wider landscape of information it sits within? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.